On this edition for Saturday, September 14th, the Bahamas brace as another tropical storm heads their way. The administration announces federal changes to the Clean Water Act. And in our signature segment, a legal rule that could put someone away for murder, even if they weren't the one who committed it. Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Bernard and Irene Schwartz, Sue and Edgar Wackenheim III, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the JPB Foundation, Rosalind P. Walter, in memory of George O'Neill, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. Corporate funding is provided by Mutual of America, designing customized individual and group retirement products. That's why we're your retirement company. Additional support has been provided by and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. From the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center in New York, Hari Srinivasan.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Heavy rain and wind from Tropical Storm Humberto forced the Bahamas to suspend aid efforts on some islands today, just 2 weeks after Hurricane Dorian killed dozens and left more than 1,300 people missing. Humberto is moving away from the island nation and may become a hurricane later this weekend as it heads toward Bermuda. At an evacuation center in Nassau yesterday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres pledged support for the Bahamas. He called on other nations to address climate change and invest in resilience.
One thing is clear, climate change is already here. It's not a threat to the future. It's happening, and it's happening with devastating impacts. And so it is absolutely essential to have a very relevant investment in resilience and adaptation.
More than 2,100 people in the Bahamas are still staying in shelters, and aid organizations continue to provide meals and assistance to many more. Humberto is not expected to reach the U.S. coast, but may strengthen to a Category 2 hurricane in the coming days as it turns northeast. In southeastern Spain, 2 days of record rainfall has caused widespread flooding to the coastal regions and killed at least 6 people. Emergency personnel have rescued thousands of stranded residents from the rising waters. Spain's acting Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez flew over the area and surveyed the damage. Airports, trains, and roadways in the region have been closed. Rainstorms are normal in the fall, but this year's have been unusually fierce, flooding fields and turning roads into rivers of mud. Saudi Arabia said today that it is shutting down about half of its crude oil output following drone attacks on major production facilities. Yemen-based Houthi rebels claimed responsibility for the attacks at a major oil field and production center, which caused a huge fire. Saudi Arabia said the fires were under control, but did not confirm the Houthis' claim. The shutdown will mean the loss of 5 million barrels a day, or roughly 5% of the world's daily production of crude oil. The United States and Saudi Arabia say Iran is backing the Houthis. A Saudi-led coalition has fought a war to unseat the Houthis, who took control of Yemen's capital city in 2014. This morning, the White House issued a statement from the president officially confirming reports that the United States killed Hamza bin Laden in a U.S. counter-terror operation in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region. He is the son of Osama bin Laden. Hamza bin Laden was believed to have been about 30 years old. He was reportedly a senior leader in the al-Qaeda terror group after his father was killed during a Navy SEAL raid in 2011. The White House statement today did not give any details about the operation. The State Department issued a $1 million reward for information on bin Laden's location last February. In Hong Kong today, hundreds of supporters of China's government scuffled with demonstrators who are in their 15th week of pro-democracy protests. The pro-Beijing groups sang the Chinese national anthem and waved red flags at a shopping mall while the pro-democracy marchers gathered. Police separated the two groups after they clashed briefly. Police have banned a major anti-government rally scheduled for tomorrow, but organizers say they will show up anyway and march to the British consulate. In Frankfurt, Germany today, thousands of protesters demanded the government take more action against climate change as the city hosts one of the largest international car shows this week. bicyclists temporarily shut down some of the city's highways on their way to a rally held outside the Frankfurt Motor Show. Organizers are calling for new policies to reduce greenhouse gases and cut back on the number of cars on the roads. They also say an increasing number of larger vehicles are slowing down progress Germany has made on carbon emissions in recent years. Thousands of mourners joined African leaders at the state funeral for Zimbabwe's founding president Robert Mugabe today. The crowd sang and danced in the stands of a sports stadium as Zimbabwe's current president Emmerson Mnangagwa presided over the ceremony alongside Mugabe's widow. Dignitaries, including Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, remember the 95-year-old Mugabe, who died last week, as a, quote, great icon of African liberation. Mugabe ruled Zimbabwe for 37 years. The military deposed him in 2017 after protests over the country's collapsing economy. Mugabe's burial has been delayed while a mausoleum is built for his remains at Zimbabwe's National Heroes Acre Monument. For the latest on Tropical Storm Umberto and humanitarian efforts in the Bahamas, visit pbs.org/newshour. The Trump administration rolled back Obama-era regulations on the Clean Water Act this week. The restrictions were established to limit the amount of pollution in U.S. bodies of water and to protect sources of drinking water for about 1/3 of the country. Critics said they were an example of government overreach. Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Coral Davenport, New York Times reporter covering energy and environmental policy. So what were the rules that were being rolled back?
Hari, the rule, which was put forth by the Obama administration in 2015, it was called Waters of the United States. And essentially, what that rule did was clearly define a lot of sort of smaller bodies of water, wetlands, tributaries, streams, even ditches, as coming under federal protection as waters of the United States. That protection already existed for very large bodies of water, like the Chesapeake Bay or Mississippi River, and that rule really clearly defined even smaller bodies of water and wetlands that drain into those smaller bodies of water as being subject to federal protection, and thus they couldn't be polluted, they couldn't have runoff. Landowners around those bodies of water would have to get permit to use the land in certain ways. So this rule defining these bodies of water, protecting them, is what was stripped away.
This week we had the head of the Environmental Protection Agency co-author an op-ed that says this was government overreach. What does he mean by that?
Essentially, the biggest opponents of this rule were rural landowners, real estate developers, groups that said, look, this rule is allowing the government to tell us how we can use our land. And it was, to a large extent. It was saying, if you're on a farm and you have a stream or ditch that drains into a larger body of water, you have to get a permit from the EPA before you can use your land in certain kind of ways that might pollute that water. And so landowners said, this is the federal government literally coming in and telling us what we can and can't do on our land. That was the objection to this rule.
So if you're a farmer or you're a golf course owner, real estate developer, the kinds of pesticides you might use on your crops or on your lawns might flow into one of these ditches and that might go into a larger body? That's the
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the complaint.
All right, so now what will replace this rule?
The Trump administration has said they intend to put forward a new rule, a replacement rule, the Trump administration's versions of the waters of the United States by the end of the year. And essentially, it's just expected to be a much narrower definition of what gets this federal protection. So wetlands are not expected to be included for the large part. The Obama rule included protection for underground bodies of water. So, if you had a stream that drained underground into a larger body of water, that counted. Those are not expected to be protected under the new rules. So there's a lot of sort of smaller bodies of water and wetlands that will not be subject to federal protection under the expected Trump rule, which they're saying they'll put out by the end of the year.
Now, the Obama rule wasn't already instituted or rolled out in every state in the country, right?
That's right. It had been rolled out nationally, but there has been so much objection to it. It's been implemented in about half the states and not implemented in about half the states.
Okay, and finally, this is not in a vacuum. In the political context, this was something that the president campaigned on. He thought that this was government overreach, and for him, this is a win from whom? His farmer base?
Yes, I mean, this is, as you said, this was a major issue that the president campaigned on. He vowed to do it in his first weeks in office, and this delivers a big win to him for a major political base, and that's rural landowners, farmers. And that's a group that has been sort of frustrated with President Trump lately. They have been hurt by some of the tariffs that the administration has been put forth. They've been hurt by some of the rollbacks on ethanol mandates. So farmers have been feeling a little bit of a burn lately from Trump administration policies. This delivers them a direct win that they'd asked for, that the president campaigned on.
All right, Coral Davenport of the New York Times joining us from Washington tonight. Thanks so much.
Great to be with you, Hari. Thank you.
Last month in Lake County, Illinois, just north of Chicago, 6 teenagers allegedly tried to break into a car. The owner shot and killed one of them, a 14-year-old boy. The story has garnered a lot of press in Illinois, not just because of the tragedy, but because the 5 other teens were all charged with the boy's murder. How could this be? NewsHour Weekend's Megan Thompson takes a look at the little-known legal statute behind the case. A warning, this story contains images some viewers might find disturbing.
On the morning of February 23, 2015, 5 teenagers drove to the end of a quiet street in Millbrook, Alabama, about 10 miles north of Montgomery. The teens, who were armed, broke into an empty house, stealing electronics and money, then went up the block to another empty home. A suspicious neighbor called 911.
Well, I think we got them blocked off right now if you're still there.
2 Millbrook police officers soon arrived. One went in the front, the other along the side. Gunfire broke out. As the second officer ran towards the backyard, one of the teens, 16-year-old Adante Washington, came through a back gate carrying a gun. The officer hit Washington 3 times. He died at the scene. Andre Washington is Adante's father.
Good son, good child.
Washington remembers his son as a quiet kid who dreamed of playing football for the University of Florida.
Full of energy when he was young, just full of energy. After high school, he wanted to go to like the Florida Gators.
As the shock of his son's death sunk in, Washington learned something else shocking. Though none had pulled the trigger, the 4 other teens at the house were all being charged not just with burglary and theft, but with murder. The murder of Adante Washington.
It's crazy.
Do you think the other boys are responsible for Adante's death?
No.
In Alabama, a murder conviction can bring a sentence of up to 99 years. 3 of the teens took plea deals. The 4th, Lakeith Smith, was offered 25 years, but he rejected it and took his case to court. C.J. Robinson is the Chief Deputy District Attorney for Alabama's 19th Circuit.
He didn't pull the trigger. He didn't kill anybody. So how can he possibly be charged with murder?
I think that's a great question. And to answer that question, you really have to look at Alabama law. When you look at how that law is on the books and how it's applied in Alabama, it goes to the foreseeable factor, all right?
In Alabama, the law says all suspects can be charged with murder if a death occurs during a felony that's clearly dangerous to human life. Another legal standard used is that the death was foreseeable.
Do I think when I break into this house, an officer is going to come running in and we're going to get in a gunfight? Is that foreseeable? Yes.
Robinson also based his decision on the fact that the group was charged in other crimes in Montgomery in the 36 hours before Washington was killed. One defendant pled guilty to murder. Charges of kidnapping and robbery are still pending against Lakeith Smith.
When you're engaging in a series of the most dangerous behavior that's out there, the question for us was, is it foreseeable that someone could die based off these 5 young men's conduct? Our answer was absolutely.
Alabama's law is based on something called the felony murder rule, a centuries-old legal concept. Stephen Drizzen is a clinical professor at Northwestern University's Pritzker School of Law.
So in its purest form, the felony murder rule means that if you commit a felony and during the course of that felony somebody dies, you can be convicted of first-degree murder the most serious crime on our statute books. Even if you didn't intend to kill the person who died, even if the death was accidental.
42 states have some form of a felony murder rule, and it's interpreted differently in each. In some cases, it's been used to charge accomplices with murder. So, for instance, if two people rob a store and one of them kills the clerk, both of them are charged with murder. The idea is everyone involved in a felony should be held accountable for the consequences. But some states interpret felony murder more broadly. In rare cases, if the clerk kills one of the robbers, the other robber is charged with murder. Take the case of Justin Doyle in Illinois. In 2008, Doyle, 15 and unarmed, set out to rob a home with 3 other boys. They thought it was empty. A person staying there shot and killed one teen, Travis Castle. The other 3 were charged with Castle's murder. Faced with a possible 60-year sentence, Doyle, who got a tattoo to memorialize Castle, pled guilty to home invasion and involuntary manslaughter and was likely to get out of prison in 15 years. Stephen Drizin got Doyle's sentence commuted by the Illinois governor.
Most people are offended by the notion that teenagers who want to commit a burglary can be charged with felony murder or first-degree murder. The punishment is just much too harsh for the criminal culpability.
I want to ask you about why this is an appropriate tool to use. If you are out to commit a crime, whatever it may be, you should pay for whatever consequences arise.
The answer to that argument is you punish the burglar with the higher range of sentences for the burglary. You don't punish someone for crimes they neither intended or committed.
Back in Alabama, even though Lakeith Smith was 15 at the time of the shootings, he was tried in adult court. Brontina Smith is Lakeith's mother.
Your son was offered a deal.
He was.
Plea deal. He did not take it.
Did not.
Why not?
That was my son's thing. He was like, I didn't kill anybody. Like, why am I admitting to a murder that I know I didn't commit? The cop killed him.
That cop was cleared of wrongdoing. Lakeith Smith's trial took place in 2018 in rural Elmore County, north of Montgomery. An all-white jury found him guilty of burglary, theft, and murder.
You just don't get it, do you?
And the judge, annoyed at what he claimed was Smith's disrespectful demeanor, sentenced him to 65 years in prison.
What went through your head when you heard 65 years?
It was malice. It's like, if you don't do what they want you to do, I'm gonna show you.
He did commit a crime.
He did. And he should have got the proper time for the crime that he committed, the burglary and the stolen property. To 65 years on a young guy, 15, who didn't kill no one. Didn't kill no one and didn't shoot at no one. Alabama. Yeah.
What do you say to critics of this? They say we shouldn't be bringing this charge in situations like that. What do you say?
I understand people who may not understand the law or may want the law to be different. You know, if the Supreme Court says it's got to be this way, then I will gladly apply the law that way.
Back in Illinois, an investigation in 2016 by the Chicago Reader found 10 cases over the previous 5 years of killings by law enforcement that led to felony murder charges. One case was that of Tevin Lewis.
Pull in over here so you can see.
Femi Soyode was Tevin Lewis's attorney. In 2012, when Lewis was 19, he and Marquise Sampson, his close friend since childhood, robbed a sandwich shop on Chicago's South Side.
Mr. Sampson came out of King Giro and literally ran across the street. And coincidentally, an officer just happened to see him running across the street holding his waistband. And officer just, boom, started chasing him all throughout these neighborhoods right over here. Mr. Lewis went the opposite way, this way, southbound.
The officer shot and killed Sampson. He stated later that Sampson had a gun.
I was down the street, yeah. I heard the gunshots. Yeah, I was down the street.
Even though Lewis was down the street, he was charged with murdering his friend. He spoke to us from prison.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was crushing, like, you know what I'm saying? Especially the fact of playing in that there was a close friend of mine. He was my brother.
Soyode says he sees felony murder used often in cases when it's one of the felons who's committed a killing.
My thoughts on felony murder is the idea behind it, I'm actually not opposed to.
But in a case like Lewis's, Soyode feels the punishment doesn't fit the crime. He routinely sees first-time offenders charged with robbery like Lewis take plea deals and serve only a few years in prison. Lewis refused a deal that would have required him to plead guilty to his best friend's murder. A jury found him guilty of both robbery and murder. He received a 20-year sentence that he must serve in its entirety.
The fact that Mr. Lewis is doing 20 years is mind-boggling. And for that reason, I know there's an issue with felony murder, because that just shouldn't be.
The officer, meanwhile, was cleared of wrongdoing. In recent years, Chicago has had some of the highest numbers of shootings by police officers of any large city. Femi Soyode says a felony murder charge like Tevin Lewis's adds to his community's distrust of the police.
It just further reiterates what people already feel about law enforcement. And not only does it reinforce it, it takes it to a new level.
It's difficult to know how often prosecutors use felony murder in the U.S., but one report states that nearly 20% of murder convictions are based on felony murder.
I think the felony murder rule causes people to plead guilty to crimes that they didn't commit, to avoid extremely harsh sentences. I think it's a big part of mass incarceration.
In response to the 2016 investigation by the Chicago Reader, the office of Anita Alvarez, Cook County State's attorney at the time, told the paper, "The murder charges are well-founded under established law." The current state's attorney, Kimberly Fox, came to office in late 2016. Her office said in a statement that when deciding to charge felony murder, it conducts an additional review process that considers the offender's role and conduct during the commission of the underlying felony, whether he was armed or discharged a weapon, and if he has a previous criminal history. Fox has not used felony murder to prosecute in cases of shootings by the police. But the rule is still on the books in Illinois as it is in Alabama, where Lakeith Smith is now serving his 65-year sentence.
I don't agree with that particular law. It just doesn't make sense.
Brontina Smith says her son plans to appeal his murder conviction.
This is PBS NewsHour Weekend, Saturday.
According to the United Nations, by 2050, 1 in 6 people will be over the age of 65. Spain has one of the fastest growing elderly populations. To meet their needs, the city of Bilbao in northern Spain is experimenting with new kinds of activities in 2 public parks. NewsHour Weekend's Yvette Feliciano reports.
The walkways and benches in 2 of Bilbao's public parks now include activities designed for the city's over 65 residents. Games including math and memory challenges are mixed with exercise equipment anyone can use.
We thought that it was necessary for older people or those with reduced mobility to have equipment, not just for physical exercise, but also for cognitive and comprehension skills, so we needed to increase the quality of the machines.
One recent visitor found the new park additions created an attractive destination for seniors who now make up 24% of Bilbao's population.
At least you have places where you can go as an elderly person to meet up, make friends, and aside from that, well, activate the mind.
There are a variety of stationary bikes and other machines for strengthening muscles and minds. The new equipment also attracts younger generations who interact with seniors, something officials say makes a big difference in a country where more than 2 million people over the age of 65 live alone.
By creating spaces where people can do not just physical, but also cognitive exercises, we're also making people interact with each other. And all this connects to the issue of loneliness. and people who live without interaction with others. So we look for spaces where there are ways to be able to talk and also exercise your mind.
Finally, tonight, it's a weekend to look to the night sky. Last night, there was a rare Friday the 13th harvest moon. Tonight, just before 8 p.m. on the East Coast, an asteroid estimated to be 950 to 2,100 feet long will pass by Earth and may be visible to the naked eye. You can also watch telescopes track it live on the website space.com. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office says there is no danger. The asteroid, known as 2000 QW7, will be about 3.5 million miles away. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Bernard and Irene Schwartz, Sue and Edgar Wachenheim III, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the JPB Foundation, Rosalind P. Walter, in memory of George O'Neill, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. Corporate funding is provided by Mutual of America, designing customized individual and group retirement products. That's why we're your retirement company. Additional support has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Be more PBS.